York City Transit System buses. Today we stand out here with our friends from government, Congressman Meeks and Assemblyman Weprin, and I'm also here joined by my fellow colleagues from the union, John Lyons. We're basically here to enlist the public to make the necessary calls and do the necessary things to fund public transportation. Public transportation is the backbone of this city. It's been the thing that has driven this city from decades ago to the way we run it now. It funds people's transportation needs, it funds them going to school, it also helps businesses and everything else flourish in the neighborhood. The need is there. There's a great need for funding for public transportation, and it's something that should have been done years ago. It's a civil right of the neighborhoods that we service, and the neighborhoods that these gentlemen represent, and we're here again to enlist the public to do just that. I'm also joined by some of my fellow representatives from my union. I have my chairman from my maintenance division. I've also got my executive board recording secretary here as well. But before I introduce the congressman and the assemblyman, President Lyons, a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks to the assemblyman and the congressman for coming out today. All over the United States right now, members of the Amalgamated Transit Union are gathering support from the riding public to encourage them to call the congressman and get the Congress to fund public transportation. Every single bus that pulls up to this terminal right here feeds an area that's not served by the subway. Without the right public funding for public transportation, these buses won't run. And people can't get to work, they can't get to their doctor's appointments, and they can't do all the things that we take for granted in New York City every single day. In other places around the United States, public transportation systems are being completely eliminated, and this is all due to the fact of a lack of funding. So we need to encourage all of our riders, all of our members, all of our neighbors, and all of our friends to pick up the phone and call Congress and let Congress know that we want them to fund public transportation. During Hurricane Sandy, the members of Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1179, who are the primary service providers on the Rockaway Peninsula, worked night and day to both evacuate the peninsula, bring people back to the peninsula, and continue to provide service on the peninsula while the A train wasn't running and there was no electricity in the Rockaways whatsoever. So I would encourage, once again, I just want to encourage everybody to call your congressman, like Congressman Meeks, and call your assemblyperson, like Assemblyman Weprin, and let's get the word out that we need to fund public transportation. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Congressman Gregory Meeks.
First, let me thank both presidents who are doing a great job from 1056 and 1179 united with this important message that we need to give out to the American people. You know, the President of the United States was in New York yesterday. He was up at that time at the Tri-Borough Bridge talking about the Congress to pass his infrastructure bill. And within that infrastructure bill is money for transportation, because that's part of the infrastructure for the United States of America. Now we need to play catch up. We've got more people with more destinations than ever before. But if we don't put the money into our public transportation system, as well as to our infrastructure, then our country will be falling apart. This only makes common sense, because when you talk about economic development, people have to get to and from work. Clearly, as the president said out here in Queens, if you don't have bus transportation to complement the train system, you are devastating individuals who are not able to get back and forth to work. It also makes environmental sense. You want to get some of the raw cars off the road. So you have to have adequate bus transportation to go along with the subway and train transportation for the benefit of the people of our city. Not only that, let's just think about it. Technology. We can't have the latest buses on the road if we don't invest in them. So we need the new buses that are more environmentally friendly, that will keep people on the buses in a comfortable way and keep our people employed. You know, the individuals behind me, they are the backbone of this city. They are workers. They are the ones that keep this economy driving. And so it makes sense all the way around. There's no way that we should not be talking about investing in transportation and infrastructure. It is the key to our nation continuing to grow and to compete. It's especially important for cities like ours, and for us to be able to be competitive with people all around our country and all around the globe. So I am delighted to be here. In fact, I shouldn't say I'm delighted because I wish I wasn't here. I wish this was a no-brainer. I wish people knew automatically, or the Congress and my colleagues in Congress knew the right thing to do was to fund our transportation system, to fund our infrastructure, and we wouldn't have any need to be out here. It's unfortunate that we have to be out here because Congress does not move. Congress is not investing in its people. Let's invest in our people, in our workers, and those that need to get to and from work, those who need to get to health care, for health care reasons. Let's do the right thing. So when I go back to Washington next week, I know I will be advocating to pass this bill, and we're asking and trying to educate all our people. You know, you don't have much of a problem here in New York City other than Staten Island. So those of you in Staten Island, call your Staten Island rep. And those of you who have relatives in other areas where those individuals who are not for this, call them. So I am glad to join partnership with my colleagues from the State Assembly and from the City Council, because we get it and we understand. And that's why I'm proud to be here with David Wechter, who is working very hard in the State Assembly to make sure that we do what we have to do. And the message comes resoundingly from both the federal government, the City Council, and the state legislature, that we're going to do the right thing and invest in people, and invest in our environment, and invest in our infrastructure. David.
Yes, I'm very proud to join with my Congressman, Gregory Meeks, he's actually my congressman in Holliswood, where I live, as well as my brothers and sisters in ATU, who really represent the faces of public transportation. Most of my assembly district is not accessible to the subway. So I was in the City Council for 8 years. I've been in the Assembly for 4.5 years, and I've been fighting for more bus service, for more money for buses, because buses are really the lifeline of many, many residents in Queens that do not have accessibility to public transportation. One of the reasons I was such a strong opponent of former Mayor Bloomberg's congestion pricing plan is that many of my constituents and Greg's constituents need their cars to get around because public transportation is not what it should be. So we need the city investment, we need the state investment, and we need the federal investment in our buses, in our infrastructure. So look, people don't drive into Manhattan because it's a fun thing to do. They drive into Manhattan out of necessity, but they would rather take public transportation if there were viable public transportation options. So I'm here, again, supporting ATU and really asking that we get more money at every level, city, state, and federal, but we really need it now.
Let me just add one other thing, which is important. I just was thinking about my own family, my own life. And so therefore, you know, in a few minutes, you'll see students coming from around the borough, coming from everywhere, coming from school, needing to take the bus home. My daughter is one of them. I have comfort knowing that she can come here and get on a bus, and the bus will take her home. And we need to have that kind of investment for our young people, to make parents at ease, so that they know that their children have the kind of transportation that's necessary. And I am comfortable to make sure it is a New York City bus driver who I know is part of a labor union, or a trusted driver who will get them home in a safe way. And that's why I stand with these workers who we invest in, whether it's driving the bus, whether it's fixing the bus, whether it's making sure that it is on time and prepared. These workers are the ones that we're here to also to make sure, because they make sure that we can live comfortably in the transportation of our loved ones. So I'm happy to stand with them. And I give it back to the president.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, Senator. Please, a round of applause for both. Again, we stand with our elected officials. One of the acts in Congress, Congressman Meeks, is the GROW Act. And that act basically is an act that's going to help not only this city, but cities across the nation. So we're asking and enlisting the public to reach out to your elected officials and call them and tell them, listen, I want you to sponsor this GROW Act. The president has talked about it. Congressman has talked about it on many levels. It needs to be done. It needs to be passed. It's a quick, easy way for funding to come directly into the city, directly to this borough of Queens. It could be the thing that fund more buses that we're sorely lacking here. Also a new infrastructure for a new depot to service the community and repair those buses. But on that note, I do want one other individual to speak. This is from Donovan Richards' office, the city councilman, Frank Joseph.
Good afternoon, my name is Frank Joseph. I'm here on behalf of Councilman Donovan Richards from New York City's 31st District. As you heard from Congressman Meeks and Assemblyman Weprin and also ATU, it's very important that as a city we're ahead of the curve when it comes to transportation. One thing that we see the city has unleashed and has begun talking about is bus rapid transit. We all know it as BRT. It's something that's very important and it's very crucial to our community. We have Denver, who's launching a BRT plan in 2016. In the tri-state area, Connecticut is prepared to begin a BRT program next year. As New York City, we should not be leading from behind. We should be ahead of the curve, and we need to expand the BRT. We're happy that the MTA and DOT is unveiling plans for BRT. However, we don't want it just to go from Woodhaven Boulevard to Crossway Boulevard. We want it to extend all the way into the Rockaways, more specifically the Q52 and Q53 routes, so that it expands the entire peninsula. Councilman Richards' district would benefit from this, so would Councilmember Eric Baldwin's district. Earlier today, Councilmember Richards and myself sat down with many transit advocates speaking about this, seeing how can we come together as a city council representative himself, the state, also the federal level, all coming together. As New York City, we should not be behind when it comes to transportation. We need to focus on the outer boroughs, making sure that the entire city has good infrastructure, and that includes transportation. So I thank you all for being here, and let's truly push on this issue.
That councilman with us.
Former president of ATU 1056.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for coming out to this important event. Honored to stand here with my congressmen and all the other elected leaders that are here, community groups, advocates, and especially the Amalgamated Transit Unions, Local 1056 and Local 1179, folks that have been on the forefront of transit advocacy for many, many years. Proud to be here to announce National Transit Month. It is so important that we recognize the importance of transit, particularly here in the city of New York. Obviously, this is about making a pledge and a pledge to the federal government to make sure that we fund public transportation, here in the city of New York. We understand that this mechanism of funding has historically been disproportionate as it pertains to urban America. 80-20 just does not work. The fact that you can't use this money for operating expenses does not work. We also know, most importantly, that the return that you get on your investment, the transportation dollars, are like any other dollars that you're going to spend. It's about jobs, it's about service, it's about people coming together and being able to have the quality of life that they deserve. And we'll be able to do this with proper funding. And I think by highlighting National Transportation Month, highlighting the advocacy that has gone on over the years but have not been brought to the forefront. We are now prioritizing public transportation. We need to get it done. With that being said, I will be introducing a resolution in the City Council imploring the federal government to invest in public transportation to bring about a sound transportation bill that funds public transportation throughout the country, and particularly in urban America and here in the city of New York, which drives the country. So I thank everybody for coming out, honored to stand with all these allies on such an important issue. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Lawrence McLean from Ward 13. I want to thank you and all elected officials for turning out to talk about public transportation. Our area is Eastern Queens, where there is no subway. If we don't have proper public transportation, proper buses, our residents are stuck. We have senior citizens that don't get on the subway because they want to stay above ground and they have to bring extra time to battle. As a district manager who's covered Manhattan and Queens, it's not only about just the service, but every time we have a problem, people do not appreciate the transportation system until they don't have it or they're in trouble. From 9/11 commemorated yesterday, all the bus drivers were taking people uptown away from the car to blackouts and snowstorms and hurricanes. Every time people turned around and needed to get somewhere, it was the bus drivers and the workers who kept them going. And so we need these services because we have a growing population and they need these services. The school children, the senior citizens, just the people trying to get around and the jobs that it brings with the construction and the infrastructure. Thank you.
Any questions?